What's good? This is JVB representing SPD, and that is sportsperdiem.com. Will the real Chicago Bears please stand up? The Vikings were one Hail Mary touchdown away from defeating the Chicago Bears, but the Bears hold on to defeat the Minnesota Vikings 33-27 in a very entertaining game. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and I am happy that they did defeat the Minnesota Vikings, that they are now 7-7, 500, and they still have a chance to make the playoffs. Are you telling me the Bears can still make the playoffs? Playoffs? Yes, the Bears still have an outside chance to make the playoffs. And if you know who I was imitating just right now, let me know down below in the comment section. But the Chicago Bears pull out a very entertaining game, a close game, a pretty fun game to watch if you're a fan of offense. I'm going to talk about Mitch Trubisky in a little bit. You know, Mitch Trubisky fans, hold on, don't worry. But first, I need to talk about David Montgomery, because over the last month or so, David Montgomery's been showing up and he's been showing out. The Bears were still out there, against Green Bay. The game they choked away against the Lions, they lost those games, but David Montgomery, since that point, he's been beasting. Besides Derrick Henry, and in this game we saw Dalvin Cook, but besides those two running backs over the last month or so, there's been no better running back than David Montgomery. You know what? I'll add Aaron Jones to that conversation, but there's not too many running backs in this league right now that's playing better than David Montgomery. David Montgomery may not be the fastest. He may not have the most agility, but what he does have is toughness. What he does have is will. This whole season, every time David Montgomery gets the ball, and yes, he does dance with the ball a little bit, but every time this man gets the ball, he's fighting for yards. He's fighting for 1 yard. He's fighting for 4 yards. He's fighting for 5, 6, 7 yards. Even when he pops a 15 to 20 yard run, he's still moving his feet. David Montgomery has shown that he can run through your tackles. And like I said, he may not be the fastest, but David Montgomery has shown that he can make you miss. He can run around you. And he can also catch the ball as a receiver. Now, in turn, I do have to give a couple of shout outs, because the offensive line is playing really well right now. Not just in the run game, but also in the passing game. Do I believe that Charles Leno and Bobby Massey any good? No, I don't. But I do really like what I'm seeing from this Bears interior offensive line. I also have to give a shout out to Bill Lazor, who's actually running the ball. Mitch Trubisky has played better, but at the end of the day, it's still Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky has been better, but he's not a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's, at best, a serviceable quarterback. So what better way to help out a serviceable quarterback? Have a good run game. Run the ball. It opens everything up. Common sense. But the offensive line playing better, along with the offensive play calling being better, we've seen David Montgomery take that next step up. I remember at the beginning of last season, I did a prediction video on David Montgomery. My bold prediction was David Montgomery in his rookie season getting 1,500 offensive scrimmage yards. Now, we saw what happened last season. The Bears' offense sucked. The offensive line sucked. And we saw the same exact thing for the majority of this season. The Bears' offense sucked. The offensive line sucked. And granted, they're not playing good defenses. They are getting a feast on some bad defenses right now, but at the end of the day, David Montgomery is showing you that he can play, that he's a good running back. This is how Matt Nagy should have been running the offense. Give David Montgomery the majority of the snaps. Enough of all the equal time share with Tariq Cohen and Cordero Patterson. David Montgomery is showing that he is a lead back. He is the lead back of the Chicago Bears team. But let me talk about Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky, over the last few weeks, he's been solid. Now, is he an all-pro quarterback? A Pro Bowl quarterback? Hell no. But can Mitch Trubisky in the right system, with the right coaching, be a serviceable quarterback? Yes. On a team with an elite quarterback or a very good quarterback, a good quarterback, can Mitch Trubisky be a solid backup quarterback? Yes. The problem is, at least with myself, is that I know where Mitch Trubisky is. Mitch Trubisky will never be mistaken as an elite quarterback, as a very good quarterback, as a good quarterback. Like I said, with the right coaching, the right system, the right personnel, could you win some games with Mitch Trubisky? Sure you could. But are you going to be a perennial playoff team, be a Super Bowl contending team because you have Mitch Trubisky at the quarterback position? Absolutely not. So for me personally, at the end of the season, I wouldn't really mind letting him walk. Just maybe I give him a 1-year deal. But I'm not breaking the bank on one Mitchell Trubisky. Whoever the GM is, and I know this team has had a resurgence, so some people may think Ryan Pace's job is safe now. That shit shouldn't be the case. Ryan Pace should definitely be gone. And with that said, whoever the general manager of this team is, and I've had this conversation with you guys, my YouTube family. I've had this conversation with a few of you guys. The Bears need to make a concerted effort to draft a quarterback every single year. It does not have to be a first-round pick, a second-round pick. It can be a fourth-round pick. It can be a seventh-round pick. But at the end of the day, the Bears need to make an effort in drafting a quarterback every year. Yes, this franchise has had bad luck with quarterbacks, but just take the chance. What the fuck do you have to lose? Draft a quarterback every single year. But back to Mitch Trubisky in this game. He didn't have sexy numbers, but what he did was not make too many mistakes. He had that interception in the end zone where Allen Robinson was over there, but J.P. Holtz was over there as well. So it was a lot of guys, a lot of bodies over there. And then one of the guys from Minnesota, he got the interception. Now, if Mitch Trubisky was Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, they probably would have called defensive pass interference on whoever the Minnesota defender was who was holding Allen Robinson. But nonetheless, Mitch Trubisky did throw that interception in the end zone. It wasn't the smartest play in the world. But for the most part in this game, Mitch Trubisky, he did not make too many mistakes. And he also kept the chains moving. But Mitch Trubisky did a good job. When he saw that the play wasn't available, he used his legs and he ran and he got positive yards out of it. And another shout out goes to Bill Lazor for using Mitch Trubisky's best asset, using Mitch Trubisky's legs. We've been talking about this just like we've been talking about the lack of run from Matt Nagy. Us Bears fans, me, you, your mama, your daddy, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your nieces, your uncles, your aunties. We all been talking about it. The Bears should A, run the ball more, and B, cater to your quarterback. Mitch Trubisky, best assets are his legs. Move the pocket. Roll them out. Bootlegs. RPOs. Get the defense moving. Get his mind moving. Make it easy for Mitch Trubisky to process the play. Because we all know that's the issue. Mitch Trubisky does not have it all up here. And no, I'm not saying that the man is stupid. What I'm saying is that you know his limitations. You know he's not good at just dropping back, surveying the field, processing the defense, and finding the open guy. That's not what Mitch Trubisky is good at. Mitch Trubisky needs to be moving. He needs to be rolling out. He needs to be using his legs because that's where he's comfortable. That's where you're going to have the most success using Mitch Trubisky. But shout out to Bill Lazor using common sense. We take it for granted, but common sense is not common at all. Ask Matt Nagy. But the Bears offense, they've looked good, and the same can't really be said for the Bears defense. The Bears defense had a good game last week against the Texans. They sacked Deshaun Watson 7 times, and they had some success early against Kirk Cousins, and they had some success on 4th down as well, but this defense been getting gashed up on yards. Yeah, they had some backup DBs out there, because Jalen Johnson was out, Buster Screen was out, Deion Bush was out, guys were out. But even when those guys were playing, they were getting gashed up, especially Buster Screen. Some players been going out there and they've been balling, like Bilal Nichols and Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks had a good game. Guys have been doing their thing, but for some reason, offenses are going out there and they are carving the Bears up. This defense has too much talent, too many high-paid players to be looking like that. But nevertheless, the Bears go out there and they beat the Minnesota Vikings 33-27 in a very close game. Minnesota had a chance at the end with the Hail Mary pass, but it was all for naught. The Bears hang on to win, and they have won 2 games in a row after losing 6 games in a row, and then they start the season at 5-1. Will the real Chicago Bears please stand up? Like I said, the Bears have an outside shot at getting to the playoffs. They need the Arizona Cardinals to lose at least one of these next couple of games, along with winning the next couple of games. Next week should be easy money. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Jaguars didn't even play a lot of their key guys. Now that the Jets have won, their main objective is staying in that number 1 spot. So next week, the Bears should win. And that also means that Matt Nagy, over his 3 years here with the Bears, have won at least 8 games. Should that keep him his job? Personally, I don't know what they're going to do. What I want them to do is still clean house. Even if the Bears went 9-7, I would still feel that way. Don't get me wrong. I like seeing the Bears go out there and be competitive. See them win games. And call me selfish, but I want more than that. I want this team to be a perennial power over 5 to 10 years. I want this team to consistently make the playoffs. I want this team to have a good quarterback that can lead the way for this franchise. I want a front office that knows football, that can make those savvy trades, that can make those deals to get more assets in the draft. That's what this franchise needs. So yes, 8-8, 9-7 is not a losing season, but they ain't going nowhere. They not going to the NFC divisional round, the NFC championship game, the Super Bowl. They not doing all that. And I know every team isn't built that way. I know every team isn't consistently doing that. But me as a fan, I can want that. I can want my team in a big city with talented players on it already to go out and be a perennial powerhouse. So when you tell me there's a chance that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy can keep their jobs, it does bother me a little bit. It does bother me that that's what's accepted. Mediocrity. Average. You accept that. You cool with that. Nah, bro. I ain't cool with that shit. It took Matt Nagy to give up his play calling duties to see change. We saw the limitations in Mitch Trubisky. We knew he wasn't a good quarterback. We knew what his strength was. So why now finally somebody, not Matt Nagy, has made the change? Somebody else is utilizing Mitch Trubisky how Mitch Trubisky should be utilized. It shouldn't have taken as long. And the worst part of it was that Matt Nagy wasn't smart enough to say, you know what? I see what I got here. I see what's over there in Kansas City. There's no comparison. This offense is not the Kansas City Chiefs. This offense needs to be different. And it's up to me to make that happen. He didn't do that. He tried his best to have a Kansas City style offense here with the Bears. Like, real talk, nobody knows what the hell the McCaskies are going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are still here. But for me, regardless of what happens at the end of the season, there needs to be changes. Could I see them leaving parts of the coaching staff? Yeah. Could I see them signing Mitch Trubisky to a one-year deal and keeping Bill Lazor on the offensive staff? Yeah. But I still believe that changes need to be made specifically Ryan Pace, and hopefully Ted Phillips. But ending on a high note, the Bears defeat the Minnesota Vikings 33-27. The Bears improved to 7-7, 500 on the season, and they look to keep that momentum going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who don't have anything to play for but to play for the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Guys and girls, let me know down below how you feel about the Bears now. Do you feel reinvigorated that the Bears have now won 2 games in a row and they are in the playoff hunt? Let me know down below, but I'm out. Like the video and share the video. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take it easy. God bless. Peace.